So it just might be my algorithm, but Fisherman Core is here. It might just be my algorithm feeding me what I want to hear, but I'm gonna take it. And to say that Fisherman Core is something that I've been waiting for, that's an understatement. I've been here for a while. I've been here for a while. Welcome. And there is no greater icon of Fisherman Core than the Guernsey. Sometimes it can be called a Gansey. Technically they're two different things, but in modern times we kind of use the two terms interchangeably since they're similar, even though they are still different. And to exemplify my passion, I have quite a few, this isn't going to work out very well, I have quite a few books on the subject. I still have more on my wish list, but this is what I currently have, and there'll be links in the description to where you can get them and details about them. I'm not going to be focusing too much on them right now. It's just proof that I've been here for a while and I've been waiting for this day to come. I love Fisherman Core. I love it. So let's actually get into some pattern recommendations, whether you're here for a good time or a long time. So first up we have Jean's Guernsey by Beth Brown-Reinsel. This is a stunningly simple Gansey to get you going, with its prime feature being a 2x2 rib patterning from the mid-torso up. This pattern is actually featured in this book, which is amazing. I highly recommend it. And it's knit in the round up until where you break for the arms, then it's knit back and forth for the front and then back and forth for the back. We then sew up the shoulder seam, and there's different techniques on how to do this, provided in the pattern itself, which is great. And then we pick up stitches at the shoulder and knit down to our sleeves. So that is really cool. So even though it's not a top-down seamless sweater, it's most of the way there. It's recommended to use a 5-ply or sport weight yarn that is tightly twisted, which is also a key feature of Ganseys. To be honest, I probably would do a extra fine merino, which is definitely not traditional, but hey, I'm gonna make what I'm gonna wear. An adorable feature that I love about this design and most of the patterns in this book are the author gives you advice on how to pattern in initials to around like the hip, lower hip waist area, and it just gives it a real sentimental touch, and I love it. Next up we have Emma and Kate's Boyfriend Sweater by Mariolyn Ruhe. I am so sorry. It's a wonderful Gansey inspired knit, so it's not traditional construction, but you still get that essence. And this pattern is for my bottom up girlies who like to knit flat. And you know what? So do I. To each their own, and if you don't like it, hack it. It's up to you. It has a mix of vertical and horizontal pattern features, and with only 2 column cables, there is so much texture in this knit just from knits and purls, which is glorious. There's 2 options for the sweater to knit, either a chunky or a lighter weight version. Both use 8-ply, but it's the pairing that makes the difference. You could either pair it with a 5-ply or a kid silk mohair situation. I'm enthralled by the combination of heritage patterning but modern styling, and I love that there's 2 options for the neckline, to either have that lower crew neck or for the longer turtleneck. Third up we have I'm Jokey Too by Julia Park. This is a crisp Aran cardigan. It's knitted flat bottom up with the front and back as 2 separate pieces and sewn together. It's recommended to be made up with a 4-ply fingering weight held together with a 2-ply silk mohair. It looks machine made and it's absolutely gorgeous. My hot take is that the chunky knit girlies out there have been missing out on the crispness that you can get with a 4-ply. I know it's a labor of love, but what can I say? It's hot. I'm also gagged at the double buttoning. Do you know how high class that is? And what I mean by that is the front facing button is actually backed with a small button on the inside, and it helps to protect the fabric of your garment and makes it easier to replace. I personally hate doing seed stitch, but I love the way it looks, and this cardigan is a complete example of why it is a classic. Next up we have the Modern Gansey by Elizabeth McCartan. It's another Gansey inspired look, and I know that you've been waiting. Yes, it is top down and in the round. The recommended yarn is a 12-ply bulky, so again, we're knitting this one up quick. And what can I say but again, a knit and a purl go a long way when it comes to textures and patterns, and something that I think we've been missing from the scene lately. I also love the author's story about how this pattern came to be, in which she said her son wanted something that was warm and robust for Canadian winters, but not something that drew too much attention. And herself wanting to knit something interesting but also not too difficult, she adapted traditional Guernsey patternings into a modern top-down knit in the round technique, and now she has something that is quick but interesting but not garish. It's beautiful. Now the final Gansey on this list is the Old Way Gansey by Amber. Now, did this list need another Gansey? Probably not. but this one is free, link in the description. It's knitted in the round bottom up with traditional underarm gussets, which you need one of these books to explain underarm gussets to you, or maybe I need to later, but underarm gussets, where have they gone? And it's free. This pattern is free and you can try underarm gussets. Let's go. The recommended yarn is a 10 ply or Aran weight, which again, we're just knitting this one up quick. And if it hasn't been clear to you so far, a great thing about Ganseys is you only have to pattern from the, mid-torso up. So you still get the speed of doing some stockinette stitch sections, but you get some interest and intrigue from doing the patterning to the top up. It keeps you engaged and changes it up along the way. Now this pattern is from 2004, but why not smash the Fisherman core trend while also adding some Y2K essence? Final sweater on this list is the Windermere sweater by Cheryl McCarthy. This is an almost instant classic. A raglan top down, mostly in the round, using half fisherman's rib. The recommended yarn is Knitting for Olive's Heavy Merino, which is a worsted or 10 ply. Oh, held together with a silk lace. I personally don't love a raglan on my body, but we couldn't skip a fisherman's rib on this list. To be honest, I'd skip the silk in this pattern. I don't know why everyone just feels the need to be adding expenses to things that are already expensive to make. To each their own, but I'm gonna save myself the bucks and the effort and knit just in a very nice merino. We love a fisherman's rib, and the contrasting twisted ribbing for the cuffs, neckband, and waist says it all. Now we're heading into accessories with the Aran Winter set by Beth Brown-Reinsel. To be honest, it's been a while since I've seen a scarf that's actually ignited anything in me. Living in Australia, there might be 2 weeks in a year that I might need a scarf in which I would just use a kerchief instead. But the patterning of this scarf mixed with its tassel really intrigued me. I also like that the beanie has a contrasting horizontal brim. The scarf is actually knit in the round, so it's tubular, and it's also knit one half, and then seamed together at the center. I think that this is so that the pattern is symmetrical on either side of the scarf. So no matter what way you style it, it looks the right way up. So the main feature, if you haven't noticed yet, is this cable rib, which I haven't actually done yet, and I am keen to try. And don't we love it when they recommend a DK/A ply. Now for a cowl. I'm not a cowl girl, but let's look at Sea Whisperer by Jennifer Shields Tolland. This is gorgeous. It's knit top down in the round. It's knit using a Fingling 4-ply weight, and the intention is that this is a 1 skein knit. So it's perfect for stash busting or being economical with a luxurious yarn. If completing an entire Guernsey jumper is too much, this cowl could be a really great way to experiment with the design features, the patterning, and even experimenting with your own styles. It was bound to show up on this list, and I'm a bit embarrassed, but it is the Weekend Hat by Petite Knits. Personally, I don't love a whole bunch of her patterns. I know that they're more so designed for beginner knitters, and there's a lot of variation in similar outcomes using different techniques, and I appreciate that. That's not for me, but it's clearly for a lot of people, and why not? And in saying that, with appreciation, this beanie is as simple as it gets. It's a 1x1 rib knit in the round, bottom up. It has a folded over and double knit brim, which I think just means that you've knit a section, folded over, and knitted it in place. And so that's when you have the fold, it doesn't shift too much. And it's knit in DK? I don't know, we're talking plies here. My personal opinion is that if you've been knitting for some amount of time, you probably know the basic techniques to measure your own head circumference and gauge how many stitches that translates to, and then just work a decrease. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4. Yep. I'm explaining this very well. However, I know that not everyone wants to, can, isn't bothered to do the maths. You should do maths. Maths is good for you. Finishing up with a traditional but maybe not so classic looking beanie is this Cambronne beanie by KnitQ. It's a slightly more interesting yet easy pattern, and it's free. It's free, link in the description. There's also options for knitting flat or in the round, so it definitely suits anyone's skill level or with what tools you have. It's recommended to use a worsted or 10-ply yarn. I think it's easy to always reach for the classic 1x1 rib, but why not mix it up, especially when you have nothing to risk with a free pattern. While I kept some of the pattern descriptions pretty short today, I do highly recommend you look into the history and details about Guernseys or Ganseys, because they're often overlooked compared to their cousins, the Arans. Even if this only turns out to be a micro trend, this is a corner of knitting fashion that I've been passionate about for a long time. So I implore you to pick up your sticks and cast something on. Let me know if you have any standout Fisherman core patterns. Okay, thanks, bye!